Hey guys, it's Jalen. Welcome or welcome back. I'm here today to share with you my update, my first update for Pan That Palette. What I decided to do this year is to do like 3 different challenges really for my Pan That Palette. The first one is the Pantastic Ladies Collab Facebook group theme for this year for Pan That Palette, and that is fun sized. So the fun sized theme was created by Jackie Lutens. I will leave her information down below, and the theme is fun. Did I mention fun sized? So the palette that I chose for that is the Natasha Denona Mini Love palette. So I'm going to go through all 3 of these in detail here in a little bit. I also wanted to do a baby Pan That palette, so I ended up choosing 2 for that because one of these has already one shadow completely gone. That is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Luxury Palette. I did have you guys vote on these to see which ones I would choose. Anyway, I'm not going to show it to you now. And then the second baby Pan That palette that I decided to bring in is the Pat McGrath Labs Mini Shadow Palette in Midnight Voyage. Sorry. Lastly, I am doing the Better Together project pan that Paula over at A Beauty Guru Made Me Do It came up with. She came up with this while we were deciding on last year's Pan That palette theme, and this year she decided to bring it into the Pantastic Ladies as a project pan. And the idea behind this is to bring in a palette that complements or works better with your Pan That palette that you chose. So I brought in the Natasha Denona Lila palette. So I'm going to start with the first palette I showed you, which is for fun size, the Mini Love palette. So let me show you what this looked like last month. And this is what my palette looks like now. So there are some changes, not a ton. I don't think I had ever used the Mini Love before I rolled it into my Pan That palette at the beginning of January. So the shadow that I think I've probably used the most is this one. Oh, I don't even know what shade it is because everything on the back of this has rubbed off. Now, it's also broken, which irritates me because it's the first month and it's already broken. Annoying. And you can't remove these pans. They're not removable pans. Oh, and I researched, and apparently these palettes, these mini palettes, are a pain to depot. So I'm just gonna have to deal with the broken palette all year. Anyway, I use pretty much this shade most of the time. Let me just look real quick and see what these are called because I know they have names. Okay, it's You Are My True Love. Okay, so that's what the names of these shades are. You Are My True Love. That'll be easy to remember, hopefully. So R is the one that I probably have used the most. This shadow, I'll go ahead and swatch this whole thing. This shadow is so pretty. It's a beautiful matte. I mean, this whole palette is really pretty, but that matte is just gorgeous. It goes on darker, in my opinion, in the crease than that. But there, oh, it's so pretty. All right, these are pretty crummy swatches, but there's the palette. They're swatched out. So yeah, I've definitely used this the most. I've also used this my shade quite a bit. You can see there's a little bit of a dip going in there. I used both of these shades today. Mr. Ziggy's here. And I have this shade like on my lower lash line and on the outer corner. Hi. And I really like this shade here for the inner corner, the shade True. It's really pretty. I haven't used these outer shades too often. So at the beginning of the month, right whenever, last year's Pan That palette was done and then I filmed this video, I was kind of like, okay, I have so many palettes that I have completely ignored over the last 2 or 3 months because I was so focused on Norvina that I wanted to make sure I actually gave those a little bit of use. So I probably didn't use this for the first week, maybe even a little bit longer. I really did not focus too much on my Pan That palettes that I chose for this year. But, I know that these shades will get a lot more use later. I haven't used a ton of them yet. So anyway, that is how this one is looking. I really do love this palette. I am enjoying it. Now, I did weigh these at the beginning of the year. So this palette weighed 47.8 grams at the beginning of the year, and it now weighs 47.4. So I've used 0.4 grams out of this palette. There's supposed to be 4 grams of shadow. So I've used 1/10 of the palette, which is, you know, fine because I need to finish it within 12 months. So, which is good. What'd you find there? A toy? Okay, moving on to my baby panette palettes. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Luxury Palette. So I'm going to show you what this one looked like last month first. And I'm going to try to keep a picture of the palette from last month over here in the corner. I'm not sure how much that's going to help, but I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward this year. So you'll see that. Anyway, here's what this palette looks like now. Now, I have not touched these two shades. I have focused mostly on this matte. She doesn't really name her shadows in here. It's just, what does that say? This is the smoke shade. That's all it says is smoke. So this is the shade I've been using a ton. It's a great like first or second crease shade. And I really have been enjoying this one. It's a really nice formula. So other than that, there's not much change in this one. The palette last month weighed 50.6 grams and it now weighs 50.4. So it's lost 0.2 grams out of this palette. So, you know, I'm making progress. It's just, I think I may have used, actually when I think about it, I may have used that shade once in an inner corner, but that's it. All right, moving on to the second baby panette palette I chose, which is the Pat McGrath Labs Mini Eyeshadow Palette in Midnight Voyage. Let me show you what this looked like last month. So I had not touched this palette prior to rolling it into this project, and this is how it looks now. So you can see it does have a pretty decent amount of use. I have used both of these shades quite a bit. These do have names. So the first one, we'll do it this way. This one is Skin Show Divine Glow Entrapment, which is the matte. This shade, wait, did I do that right? This one, this one is Skin Show Divine Glow Entrapment Sunset Bronze Extreme Aubergine Eleganza and Night Creature. So those are the 6 shades in here. So I've pretty much used this extreme aubergine shade and Eleganza pretty much mostly out of this palette. I have also used this shade here, Entrapment, quite a bit, to be honest. I really have enjoyed that one. And I also have used the this shade here is Night Creature. Holy shit. Okay, wow. Night Creature. And I have used this Extreme Aubergine a bit to smoke out the outer corner. I really do enjoy this. Now, I do find that I need a lighter matte to start with. So this matte is like, I guess I could use this on its own, but to be honest, like I really don't like to have to go in with this and be light-handed because it is a pretty deep shade, at least for my skin tone. So I do need a lighter crease shade, and that's why I typically start with this one or even something a little bit lighter. But I am enjoying this one. It's lovely. This one weighed 45.7 grams at the start of the project. It currently weighs 45.5 grams, so I lost about 0.2 grams out of this little palette, and there's 3 grams of shadow. So just under 10% of this palette is gone. Now, for my Better Together palette, I, again, as I mentioned, have the Natasha Denona Lila palette. I'll show you what this one looked like last month. And this is how the palette looks now. There's not a ton of change in here, I don't think. I mean, I have not looked at my intro picture, but I will tell you the shadow that I have used the most is this one. That shade is called Nude Mauve. And I've also used this one here and there. It's called Per Se. And I think I've used a couple of the shimmers here and there, but nothing major. Now, the interesting thing about this palette is it lost a lot of weight, which I'm not sure if that's actually correct. So this started out at 271.9 grams. It's now 271.4. So apparently I used 0.5 grams out of this, which is very surprising to me. I don't know how that's possible. But that's what my scale says. So that's what I'm going with. So 0.5 grams lost out of this guy. So since I'm working on 4 palettes, I decided to go ahead and kind of add things up to see how much I've used so far in a month. So for the month of January, I've used a total of 1.3 grams out of all 4 of these palettes. And so I'm really, really happy with that number. So that is everything. I would like to get a lot more use on the Natasha Denona Mini Love palette. And if you guys know anything about depotting this, let me know, because this is really irritating to me. Because I don't want to leave it open, and I always want to seal it up, but then it, like, I could accidentally gouge a shadow because of the, anyway. I wish I could depot this. That is going to be it for my update for this month. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.